Besson's comments are the latest signal that the U.S. and Europe face a long road ahead on trade negotiations. Well, I could not be more delighted to be joined by Senator Matteo Renzi, a former Italian Prime Minister, and, of course, head of the centrist party Italia Viva. Mr. Renzi, thank you for joining us. I mean, you hear Scott Bessent and you kind of think, well, he's not wrong. But then the president of the U.S. yesterday was calling Europe nasty.
Yes, it's true. Europe have a lot of tensions and troubles inside. But let me be very clear. All the chaos in the last 4 months come from USA. The responsible of the chaos is in White House because tariffs, trade war, tensions, particularly between United States of America and Europe, the best allies in the history, were created by White House. So that is the past. I hope we can solve the problem. I think it's very interesting, the trip of President Trump in Saudi, in Emirates, in Qatar. It's very important, the presence of CEOs, America, at the lunch with Crown Prince MBS. That is also a success for MBS to host all the CEOs in the Vision 2030, the project for the future of Saudi Arabia. About Europe, it's true, there is difference between France and Italy, but the answer of Europe to the attack of USA was a good answer, and I hope we arrive a good deal. Yesterday, a very good signal from China, and hopefully also in the relation between EU and USA. World needs relax, peace and dialogue, not chaos.
I agree. We could all do with a bit of relaxing, Mr. Renzi. But how should Europe deal with China? Again, the U.S. and China were at loggerheads, and suddenly they seem, much more friendly. In fact, you could argue the U.S. gave the Chinese a better deal than they did the U.K.
Francine, it's not clear for the politicians to understand what is the strategy of President Trump, because if we discuss in the next 10 years, we are sure China will be the worst problem for USA, particularly in artificial intelligence, in innovation. And in theory, the strategy of President Trump have to be to create an alliance to defend from the China's investment in the future. But if he continues to have tensions with Russia, Russia and China will work together for energy, and that will be a problem for USA. And particularly, if Trump will close an agreement with China, and for the moment not with Europe, that is a little strange. So I think the priority for us is to check what could happen between China and USA, but focus on the deal between EU and USA. There is other problem. There is one more thing: is Europe have to wake up. Europe have to stop with this terrible red tape of bureaucracy, and Europe have to come back to be a place of innovation too. Not easy, but we have to try.
But they also, we understand that President Trump likes this, the one-on-one, the conversations. Who's the right person for this? Is it Giorgia Meloni? We know that she's close to President Trump, but then does that mean that she's retrenching from some of her European duties?
But I think Donald Trump speaks with everyone. That is very, very nice in terms of human relation, because he used to say Giorgia Meloni, she's fantastic. He used to say Ursula von der Leyen, she's fantastic. Emmanuel Macron, for him, did a great job. Keir Starmer will come back in the not in Europe, but in a very important position, is a very great man. He used very nice words for everyone. The real question is, Europe have to be less bureaucratic, and at the same time it's important to check, this is my prediction, what could change in Germany. Because the new Chancellor, Friedrich Merz, he started with some problems in the first votation, but there is not Europe without Germany. And I think Friedrich Merz will be the next leader in Europe. In my humble opinion about Giorgia Meloni, she's very good in terms of empathy and relation, but she lost the momentum. She had a great opportunity 6 months ago with the crisis of Germany, with the crisis of France. She lost the momentum also because she used to change with the wind. She was with Putin in 2015, and now she's with Zelensky. She was pro-Biden, and now she's pro-Trump. She was against Euro, she pro-Euro. So Georgia, she's my prime minister. She's not my party, but I respect her. But she's a woman without a strategy. She followed the day-by-day events. She's more an influencer than a stateswoman.
I mean, you know, critics to that would say actually she's done an okay job, and since becoming into power, she has supported Ukraine. So were you disappointed that she wasn't on that train bringing the leaders to see Zelensky in Kyiv this week? Because she's very right-wing, but she kept the economy on an okay path.
Okay, I think about Ukraine. She lost the opportunity to stay on the train, not because it was important, the train, but because the train was the symbol of the European unity, exactly waiting and working for an agreement. I think we have to do an agreement with Russia, with Putin and Zelensky, and I hope in this week we will have a very important meeting in Istanbul where they decide. But she was the woman who supported Putin before, then who supported Zelensky. The decision to get off from the train have two problems. The first, she gave her place to Poland. Now, in the picture, there is Germany, France, and Poland. And that is also the strategy of Chancellor Merz. And the second, she lost her credibility because she cannot change every time following the events. That is a big problem for Georgia. For Europe, I think we have to stay with Ukraine, try to do the agreement, and then also to react to the decision of President Trump. For example, just a little example. If we will try to call researchers, doctors, students from the United States of America with fiscal incentives, that is good. After Brexit, I signed an agreement to attract rich people from London to Milano. Today, Milano is full of rich people. Roma, also other cities in Italy, because I signed this law to attract rich people. We have to attract now young talents and the students and doctors from the United States of America.
I mean, our societies are being splintered. There's a rise of the right. There's Ukraine. There's China. There's the U.S. What's your number one concern that Europe has to get right in the next 6 months?
It's strange because my first preoccupation is not, of course, we are very worried for Ukraine, for Holy Land, for all the wars, India, Pakistan, Sudan, for China, for tariffs. But my preoccupation for Europe is the decline of demography. It's not a day-by-day question, but we lost an incredible number of people. Only in Italy, in 50 years, we have 1/3 of the new babies. So if Europe, we don't attract young and come back to have a change in demography, Europe risks to decline.
Okay, thank you so much. Well, you have to come back and talk a little bit more about this. Just a bit of a curveball talking about demography. The former Italian Prime Minister and head of the Italia Viva party, Matteo Renzi,